and then coming back with a result, you can always API into those agents directly, not reliant on whether we built a component for it or not, but using that API to basically connect directly to that system. So with that, I'm going to pop out of this and actually go into a demonstration of the agent itself. And so I will preview that this is our beta version. This is something that we are releasing in a couple months from now. I have a version that is not within our new UI. If you attend our Create event, which is June 2nd in New York City, we will actually have working models of our different new UIs and the latest and greatest in Unqork AI. But for this is sort of a bit of a teaser. We're looking at this from a functional standpoint, so don't hold me to this UI. But to get started with the build agent, what we can effectively do is take artifacts that we have. I could have a BRD that was AI generated. I could take a screenshot of something that I either have today or something that I think looks great and that I want to be able to replicate. I can take pretty much anything, even code, and throw it into the system and say, hey, just recreate this or take your best shot. And so what I can do is basically take this and attach it. So I'll go ahead and throw these in here and just say, recreate this. So this will actually go through and understand what's there, provide analysis, and come back with a build plan. So what we don't believe in is this idea that it should just throw stuff on screen and see what happens, right? That's a little much. But what we can do instead is, and what I'm going to do is fast forward this because it takes a couple seconds for it to drive that, is here's what I've done before. And it's going to give you this analysis. So this is what I think I understand. I'm sort of reading this back to make sure that the human is appropriately in the loop. We can look at this and say, what are you going to build? So it's coming up with an exact build plan. And this is where I said we sort of switch on that deterministic mindset when it comes to this. This is an exact call out of every component that it's going to build. If it's going to say 20 components here, there should only be 20 components on my actual build, not 19, not 21, because I'm effectively saying this is what I've signed off on. Do nothing more, nothing less. Now, if I want to have a conversation back and forth to this tool, I certainly can. You got this wrong. Oh, I forgot this. Oh, here's another document. Consider this when you start building. You can iterate on top of this as well, either at the plan level or at the build level. What I mean by that is that I can iterate on the plan before it starts, or I can just say, build it, let me see what happens, and then just say, hey, you built this great thing. It's 80% there. Let me go ahead and make these changes. And those changes will only be for the components that you target. It's not going to change the entire application. It's going to say, look, same exact thing. I'm only going to change these 3 components. So when you come back in, you're only going to have to vet those 3 components, unlike some AI tools where you're going to have to look at the entire code base. Again, the hallucination piece. What changed? What didn't change? What was forgotten? I have to look through all of that. But at Unqork, we're calling out that diff and being able to look at that through its component level infrastructure. This is also going to have a bunch of different rules. So my BRD has all these different sort of business rules that are required. And so I need to make sure they get tested. And so there's multiple agents actually working in the background that are being orchestrated, so you don't have to call them individually, that are effectively saying, what does this user need as part of this build? We need, obviously, a build itself. We need components. But we also need tests, and we need those tests to ensure that we effectively have the right things and that they're working on screen. Some of these tests were existing. Some of these tests have been added net new. Again, that's part of the iteration process to say, hey, I want to add a test. I want you to test these 3 things instead of just the one thing. And you can certainly do that. And the last piece is the execution plan. And so that execution plan allows you to ensure that you have everything being built out, but being built out in a way that's not going to make the system time out. It's not too much to chew off there. And so we want to make sure that you actually have a good experience. And so it's going to say, I'm going to layer this on, partially, to make sure that if it makes a mistake, it can debug itself, which it does, but also just to make sure that it's doing things in sort of a chunked way, and that way it actually can build without saying, oh, I did this for 20 minutes and then I timed out because it was too much for me to handle. What that results in is your app. And your app can be styled any which way you like. And so, we decouple the application configuration from the style itself. So these global styles can be applied on any app that you build. This way, you don't have to style every app individually. Again, we're trying to take away a lot of the maintenance that comes from individual app builds and make this part of a collective system. And so you can pretty much do whatever you want. I had someone on my team build this in CSS, and so these can be mobile responsive. These can have different look and feels. I've got dark mode, I think, in here as well. And so possibilities are pretty endless here. And so what I can do is I can preview the app and make sure everything works. I can make sure that one of my EM sample group is kicking off. I can make sure that my priority is actually happening. I can choose an account, which is actually integration into my Salesforce Rolodex. It's a live integration. And so this ensures that I drive a lot of this process. At the same time, I can also have an AI agent that can help me out here that can not only read the data and help me out with whatever I'm doing, but it can also help me debug something if I'm having an issue with this particular module. It permissions itself to these particular modules as you see fit. And so I've permissioned it for this module. I can say, why did my assignment group automatically selects, and I'm going to just spell incorrectly here because I'm running out of time. And it should come back with this idea of like, well, there's an automation within the tool. And so because EM incident was selected, it auto routes the EM sample group. That way I don't have to sit here with a giant KB, a knowledge base, and understanding sort of why things are going a certain way, or what are some of the rules that I need to trigger myself. The tool can help explain that and accelerate part of that process. And that's an example of the sort of the agentic components that we have within the system. If I want to go ahead and go back into sort of the componentry itself to understand what this is doing, it's easy for me to come in and debug some of this stuff. And so here's some of my dropdowns that I have with some of the categories. I can manually add to this as well. So not everything has to happen via AI. If I want to make a quick change or do some manual configuration, you can always toggle back and forth between those. The AI agent itself, if I expand this just a little bit, if I click the right button, allows me to sort of drive a lot of my prompt engineering, making sure that I'm being responsible with my tokens, setting my temperature to see how wild and crazy that my AI tool can get, choosing the model that I have approved for such a tool, because there could be, again, PII in here, and also in making sure that it only has access to the modules that we see fit. Now, the AI tool built this agent for me. And so it understood the assignment. It needed an AI tool to help the user get through the process and understand the different rules. But again, I can always make edits to this. I can add my own. It's really up to you. And I don't have an agent for myself, but I do have access to a Salesforce account. And so for here, this is a direct integration into their API. This is the same way I would integrate into different APIs, whether they're my different systems I have out there, whether they are an agent that I have that I want to send data out to, have it processed and come back. This effectively allows you to connect to endless different systems that are out there because, again, the open API architecture as opposed to waiting for us to build an adapter. This further then allows you to do lots of different things. I've done COBOL conversions in this tool. Paste a bunch of COBOL into the context window and see what happens. Turn this into an application for me. Again, using the same exact concept. Come up with a plan, read back what it understands about that COBOL code, and then be able to convert that into an application. We've done this with smart grids. Being able to show these really high fidelity grids. This one goes in dark mode, so let's switch this over, where I give it a screenshot and I say, recreate this screenshot, give me some dummy data to make it look like it's working with the look and feel, and then I can plug in my actual data in later. Did it with effectively a screenshot and a simple prompt. And one last thing I'll show off, just because I'm really proud of this, is I basically had the tool make Tetris for me. I'm a big Tetris person, and so I'm able to effectively create a Tetris game. And as you can see, I've got a couple high scores in here. And so, yeah, this can be some fun stuff. We'll have some of this displayed at our Create event if you want to know more. But, you can do a lot of different things in sort of this new world of AI. And I think I built this in like 15 minutes. So pretty crazy what you can do in this new world. Going back to our slideshow real quick as we wrap this up. What we aim to do effectively is deliver value across the entire spectrum as you get through the software development lifecycle, right? Building with reusable components, things that you know and trust, things you don't have this idea of client-side code that you have to secure. The idea with Unqork is that you're creating no net new code. all the code or any configuration that gets built is Unqork's responsibility to patch, migrate, secure, test. You can test it as well. But the idea being that anytime I put code on your side, you have to do all of those things. That's what creates that below the waterline maintenance expense that effectively happens. And so by eliminating that client side code, I don't necessarily have to put that debt on you. It becomes an Unqork problem. And then using AI to make sure that we minimize the amount of errors that happen with that best-in-class configurations just gets you faster to the point where you can get to the run and maintain portion, making sure that once something gets updated or patched on our side, it gets applied to every client, not just one. It's a runtime that is a single tenancy, so it can scale to your compute needs. You're not being throttled as part of a multi-tenancy, but also you don't have to stand up your own infrastructure, which you then have to maintain. And again, it's that below the waterline maintenance that really drains budgets. This then lets you evolve much more quickly, right? Shift your budget from a maintenance to innovation. Ensure that you can effectively move at the speed of your business and move at the speed of regulation by staying agile. New AI tools are going to come online. You want to put those into your application. We're agnostic, right? If you decide that you go from Anthropic to something else, it's a mapping exercise with us. You're not redoing the infrastructure. If you've decided that you need to make changes to your application, you don't necessarily have to test the entire application all over again. Make your small changes, deploy into this production ready environment, and you're ready to go. And so, hopefully you saw a lot of this value as we went through this demonstration. I know this was a very quick 30-minute demonstration, but one thing I do want to call out is that June 2nd, we'll have an entire day to go through this. I'll be there. Lots of people from my team will be there, our executive leadership, people from our engineering products, go-to-market organization will all be there. We'll be showing the latest and greatest that we'll be deploying in July with the new UI, something I couldn't show today just because we're a little far out from that, and the engineering team probably would have killed me if I did. But I encourage you to register. It's free. It's going to be all day. We'll have some alcohol at the end of it. And so hopefully that entices you to at least show up to learn more about Unqork, interact with myself and some others, and then we can relax over a couple beers. With that said, I don't know if the chat's been going off because I can't see it on my screen, but I'm going to invite Samantha, our events manager, to come into the stage and let me know if there's any questions, either online, offline, as we have about 10 minutes left in our webinar.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rich. Great job, and hope to see everyone who's attending here register for Create. We'd love to have you. There are a bunch of questions in the chat, so apologies to everyone if we don't get to them all today. I'm going to pick a couple, and then those that we don't get to, someone from our team will reach out to you directly with those answers. So first up, Rich, we have a question from Nikki. Can you expand upon what you actually mean to build deterministically in Unqork AI?
Absolutely. So deterministic is one of the key things that we believe differentiates us from a lot of different AI coders out there. Because of the componentry in the infrastructure that we're delivering as part of core Unqork, we can use those components to ensure that they are delivered exactly to spec, right? Ensuring that again, that plan, that one-to-one relationship between what you signed off on and what will show up within what we call your canvas or your build itself. And so that itself is deterministically saying, I am not to do any more probabilistic sort of actions here. I am not to add things. I am not to remove things. I am to follow this as if it was a script that I must read verbatim. And so that's what we mean by deterministically, is by ensuring that you have confidence that what you signed off on is built. Nothing more, nothing less.
Great. And so next question will be from Prerit. What happens if a particular integration mentioned in uploaded artifacts, for example, let's say retool is not yet supported in Unqork, and apart from UI, what all gets created in the background? Data models, services, integrations, etc.
Yeah. So from a build perspective, let's start backwards on that question. So from a build perspective, I was showing you beta. For those of you who know Unqork, this was module by module, just for simplicity. In our general release, and we'll see some of this at our Create event, we will be able to do full applications, right? And so applications is where the system, the AI tool, is going to determine how many modules. Do I need a data model? Do I need this? Do I need that? The one thing it's not going to do, and the reason for this is because of security, is it won't actually build the first connection to an API for you. That generally requires keys or client secrets, things that need to be encrypted, and you shouldn't be sending those over plain text. Let's be honest. And so what we typically recommend in those situations is that you would create the endpoint first in our services administration. That's sort of the place where all your keys and certificates are held. And then you would refer to those connections. And so things like a retool or Salesforce, ServiceNow internal tools, you would actually have that connection there first with the credentials baked in. And then the system would effectively build against those different services.
Thank you for that. We have about 5 more minutes. I think we can take 1 or 2 more questions. The next question will be from Nimesh. So, is there any framework-specific requirements, or will it be supporting both Centauri and Vega framework?
So everything is going to the Centauri framework. Vega is all being migrated to the Centauri framework. And the reason for that, and we'll talk a little bit about this at our event. Sorry, I keep going back to this event, but I'm embargoed from talking about certain things until the event. And the reason for that is that we wanted a better cohesive client experience, right? And so what we are doing, instead of doing a migration from Centauri to Vega, we want our clients, who honestly are 98% on Centauri, to stay within that system, and it becomes Unqork's responsibility to move them into the AI world. I can't say off the record, we're recording. Vega wasn't built for the AI world, right? It was sort of came up before the advent of these AI coders. And so, we need to sort of make sure that the iteration of Unqork that we're releasing of Unqork AI is ready for the AI world. Centauri is much better suited for that, and we're going to be doing the transform there.
Perfect. And final question from Pavan. Unqork AI, will it be part of the existing licensed package, or will it need to be subscribed to separately?
So there are T's and C's required for it, because a lot of our contracts say that we have no AI in the platform from a governance, security, and regulatory standpoint. And so there are additional sort of terms and conditions that would be required in order to get access to the tool. We are still working a bit on sort of what the token cost may be, but we want this to be a conduit for clients to adopt Unqork, right? And so we don't want there to be $1 for the first usage of this type of thing, right? We want to come up with a model where there's some included usage as part of your existing subscription today, grow into it, use it to adopt the platform. But obviously we need to keep control, because someone could be using $50,000 worth of tokens a month, and that wouldn't be good. And so, we are still working on a lot of those details. If you're interested in access to the beta version, we can certainly, provide access to that. Talk to your customer advocacy manager or your account executive about that program. We do have clients on it today. But when it comes to general availability, we want to make sure that those terms and conditions are in place first. Happy to negotiate those while we figure out the rest of it.
Awesome. And so that's all we have time for today. Everyone that's been asking if they're going to get the slides to this deck, you will not be getting the slides, but you will be getting a copy of this full recording to your inbox after this webinar concludes. And then, yes, if you have any questions, reach out to your customer success manager. And we hope to see you guys next time on the next webinar.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.